In this next chapter, we'll show you how to set and achieve your business goals, to overcome roadblocks and to stay resilient in the face of adversity. Now, what this will do is give you a realistic and practical framework in which you can deal with the common stresses that small to medium business owners face.
Running a business is a challenge, and I think it's really important for people to see that other people do have the challenges and that it's not all roses.
I'm a fairly confident person, but if ever I felt depressed, it was in those first 12 months where things were really, really difficult.
I started my company, Slick Promotions, just on 20 years ago in a time of incredible personal stress. A company I'd been involved in as a silent director went into receivership, leaving my husband and myself in dire financial straits. We lost our house, we lost everything, reputation, and we were in serious debt.
I had no experience when I started here, and so it's you sink or swim.
There's no light at the end of the tunnel. You don't know where your direction's headed. You don't know, even if you're going to survive, whether the worst case scenario will happen.
I would say that the last 3 months for both my husband and I have been the greatest challenge we've ever faced.
And I made a big mistake when I first bought the restaurant, is I hadn't taken into account the current clientele. I walked in and saw a rundown old pizza shop, didn't care what the clientele was, closed the doors, reopened to something else, and realised that I didn't have any customers.
The way the receivers decided to handle it was to put us on every outstanding invoice became a charge. So one of those charges was a $7.50 stapler. Some of the invoices were serious, you know, $40,000 worth of ink, that sort of stuff. When I was taken to court facing 365 years in jail, which was, you know, gobsmackingly unbelievable at the time. It was like being in someone else's dream.
No one would have been able to prevent what's happened, and it may have been that, you know, the global financial crisis has hit us quite dramatically.
Particularly through the court case, you know, I would come home at night and I'd find this little spot between the vanity basin and the toilet and just curl in the fetal position and just cry and cry and cry, and I'd cry all through the night until the next day when, you know, off to court I'd go again. It was bleak, you know, but I didn't have any other sort of skill set.
We have so many overheads, you simply can't make a business work. So we had to sell off very quickly that side of the business, and it was in literally a month. So it's very stressful.
Nevertheless, I decided to start my own company to have a really good attempt at trying to repay the people that were hurt by the first company and to basically feed my family. So those first 10 or 12 years were extremely stressful. There were court cases involved with the death of the old company. I knew nothing about business, so I had to learn everything from scratch.
Resilience is something you have to create. You have to, you know, it isn't something you're born with, it's something you can build into yourself.
You're able to cope with setbacks and failure more and see that there's actually positives that come out of those things.
Yeah, there's opportunities and
it's only taking you to a better place ultimately.
You know, I survived it and just kept working my way through it. As bizarre as it sounds, I'm 100% grateful for it because without all of the trauma of those years, I'm so much stronger for it. And along the way, I became a Fellow of the Australian Marketing Institute, a Fellow of the Institute of Company Directors. I'm a Telstra Tasmania Businesswoman of the Year. So I've managed to achieve whilst, you know, on a very steep learning curve.
That's really good not to beat yourself up about if you've had a failure in the past, because, you know, if you choose to learn what you can from it, it serves you down the track.
I think sometimes people become quite fearful of making mistakes and seeing mistakes as failure. Those of us that talk about having experience in certain fields are also people that have made mistakes, but we've actually learned from them.
Houston's farm prior to 1995 was a poultry farm. Anthony Houston was getting a bit stressed about the egg industry. So he was sitting at home moaning and groaning to his wife about what am I going to do? You know, the business can't survive like this.
I had a discussion with another small business owner recently who was struggling with the concept of his business. Now, the original concept of his business was to make men's shirts, okay? He's now 3 years down the track and it's not really working.
He decided to trial a number of vegetables. Out of those vegetables in an acre block, lettuce was the one that had least trouble with it.
But I said, okay, so where are you making money? He said, well, I'm making money out of the buttons, supplying buttons.
They started with 12 cartons of lettuce a week. From there, West Point Casino asked them if they could produce washed lettuce.
So I said, well, why not shift the business to making and selling buttons? So the original dream may not be the end product.
So they decided to get an old bathtub, they put the lettuce in the bathtub, then put it in the shopping bags and twirled it above their heads to dry it out. We don't use that process anymore. There's a lot of food safety issues nowadays, so we have a lot of machinery. And the business started to grow. Where we've come out of 12 months of very bad weather, which has affected our business very badly and has put us through hard times in a short term, normally our CEO would have stressed. But he himself has been saying to us, I know we've got difficulties, but I'm feeling great about it because we've put mechanisms in place, we've got strategies in place, and we know where we are heading.
It's about stopping, re-evaluating where you're at. Am I going in the direction I want to? If not, what changes do I need to make to go in the right direction?
We've gone to all our workers around and said, we are going through difficult times. We are determined not to put people off. Please work with us. Show us what we need to do to cut costs. Fortunately, it worked. Nobody got put off, and we've had to do very little to change the cost structure of the factory.
The more you start to see what you can do in that situation, what you can control and change, the more you reduce the stress and you move forward.
I've also learned that I don't know all the answers, so that it's been very important to ask people that do. You can always listen to advice. You don't necessarily have to take it, but it's certainly important to listen.
There's a couple of quite successful business people in the town that I've sat down with and said, hey, floundering, help. And you'll find most of the time people are more than happy to impart their knowledge if you ask for it.
I, again, will soak up information through network groups, and I'm just starting an MBA at the moment, so I want to make sure that as I go into the next phase of my life, that I have even more skills.
Went to the Adult Education Centre and said, what courses can you offer me? And I was teaching music through the day and going to these courses at night. I'm still learning. Every day I learn.
I like to call us a success story over 16 years, basically overnight, but we've been doing this for a long time, so it doesn't come easy. There's ups and downs all the way through it, but I've enjoyed the hell of a ride.
There's going to be stuff come along and pull you down, and then the next day, you'll be pulled back up again because you managed to work it out.
If you've got something that you want to do and you believe in yourself that you can do it, give it your 100% and you will succeed. You really will.
When I found out about this, I couldn't help but put my hand up and say, yep. Because I think it's really important that people learn. You never stop learning, and the only way you learn is from people that have already done it. And I think that's really important. The stories that people can tell, I certainly think will help.
Yes, I've looked around at other people and wondered if they have depression but never had it diagnosed, including family members, friends and so forth. So I think Carl was the first person that presented to me and said, I actually have it. So actually it's been a huge learning curve, a positive one, to actually learn what it means and how you work with it, because I think everybody's got it within themselves. Everyone's got the potential to go down that path. So it's a matter of helping each other to make sure it doesn't happen.
Never lose your sense of humour, because laughter is a great release.
Do something physical, you know, some form of exercise that you like, or go out into nature and have a break, take your dog for a walk, spend time with a child that you love, deep breathe, you know, just do something different, because that will shift your energy and shift how you're feeling.
And if one life can be saved, or one set of group of people saved from depression and having to fall out of their employment and what have you, then it's just fantastic results.